Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Here we are. It's Friday, August 7th. Thank God it's Friday. And thank God we have all kinds of things to talk about today, headlines and news from places near and far as they relate to our lives as English speaking people living in Puerto Vallarta. Although this time of year, a lot of people are tuning in from other places around the world. One way or another, it's always great to get together with you every day, 10:30 in the morning, live here on Facebook. I know some of you watch us later on in the day on YouTube, where, of course, we don't have this kind of wonderful interaction that we have. But I know that it is more convenient for some people to watch in YouTube. If you like the video in YouTube, just give it a thumbs up. If you want to stay informed here on Facebook as to when we go live and when we don't go live, it's just a matter of liking the page that you're watching, and that way you will always be alerted to what's going on. It is always great to welcome faces that are familiar, folks and friends, new and old, that young and old, new and old, that join us pretty much every morning. And if you are new to these broadcasts, feel free to write the word new in your comments so that we can give you a nice welcome. Also, if you have specific questions, like David Roseberry, who very explicitly says stage 4, question mark. And of course, that could mean the name of a very fashionable bar, or it could be like the fourth stage in a big movie theater. Luckily for Dave, I read my news every morning and I know exactly what he's talking about, and we will talk about stage 4. For the rest of us that don't read all the news all the time, and for those of you that don't know what stage 4 is, it is the level of a warning that the United States government has released regarding visits to Mexico, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. Other than that, that's like the first question that popped on my head. I see a lot of familiar faces. It's great to see you all. It's great to see my dear friend Carmen Porras, because Carmen and Claudia have turned the page on their wonderful restaurant El Arrayan. And as we were talking about the other day, we don't know exactly what prompted this decision. It is very easy to think that it had to do with the pandemic, but for all I know, Carmen and Claudia have been absolutely creative and amazing and enterprising with their projects. So for all I know, they either have something wonderful up their sleeve, or maybe they just want to take a break, and why not? One way or another. The restaurant will be sorely missed here in Puerto Vallarta. It's the most amazing Mexican specialty restaurant, and I am sure that Carmen and Claudia will reinvent themselves, because I know them well enough to know that they don't like to be bored. Also, I see who else is here. Oh, well, all these wonderful people. I would mention you by name, but then somebody joked the other day that it seems like, I forget the television show where we call names for everybody. Michael Beaufort is in the house. I had a wonderful pad thai. No, that's not true. For a change, I did not order pad thai last night. I was at Siam Cuisine, and I ordered either a Penang curry or a Massaman curry. I know that I like them both, and I know that one is on the menu and the other one is not. But it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience. And Carmen, I see this little mention from Carmen Porras that El Arrayan will open for 2 last nights with a short menu. this Saturday, that will be tomorrow, and Sunday to help empty their fridges. Only cash payment by reservation only. And there's a phone number. I just posted it. I'm going to post this again so that you all can see it. Um, as long as Carmen Porras is making this a public announcement, I'll let you know that I'm going to be having dinner at El Arrayan tomorrow night. It'll be a pleasure to. No, is it tomorrow night? Tonight? I don't know when. I know that I'm going to El Arrayan like some night in the very near future, but before they close for good. But it's nice to see that for those of us that were caught off guard about these news, it is nice to see that there are two additional evenings to say goodbye to this wonderful, wonderful Puerto Vallarta restaurant. Muchísima suerte, Carmen. Much luck with whatever comes next. Um, I don't see. Yes, Carmen and Claudia will be missed throughout the city, says another great restaurant owner. Um, yes, we are all sad to hear this. But again, we all have permission to reinvent ourselves, and we all have permission to take a break from something and start something new. I mean, sometimes we feel like we should always be doing the same thing, but I think in a way the pandemic brings us to this place in which we can question a lot of things and get a good sense as to what we want to do with ourselves moving forward. As long as we're in that frame of mind, please let me tell you that today's news are so freaking weird and inconclusive. The news will seem more like a little commentary on the news than anything else. We're going to talk about bars that are opening because they can, and movie theaters that are opening because some people said so, but it depends on where you read it. And it is just it's a weird day for the news. So as long as we're all gathered, let me explain myself by going through the news and going through the last 24 hours of my life or my day, because these news come to me from different sources. Either people forward headlines to me or I find them, and they're never boring. Let's take a look. So yesterday I had just finished Coffee and Headlines, and a friend of mine forwarded me this first headline that comes from Vallarta Independiente, and it is dated August 6th, which was yesterday, and it says bars announce reopening starting today, starting jueves, which is yesterday. So I was like, okay, I never read this anywhere. I didn't read it on the mayor's page. I didn't read it on the governor's page. So I'm going to read this article, and this is going to sound like poor Paco, but when I read these things, again, we strive for clarity and we strive for accuracy whenever we were reporting here at Coffee and Headlines. But in paragraph 2 of this article, well, first of all, paragraph 1 says that bars in downtown and Emiliano Zapata can start operating on August 6th, which was yesterday. Um, and then on the second paragraph, it says that their working hours will be expanded until 2 in the afternoon. And I figured, what lovely idea to have an alcoholic tea party before 2 o'clock, and then just go home and have a siesta or something to that effect. But then, of course, the next paragraph says that they can open until 2 in the morning. So turns out that we cannot have a tea party. And then the final paragraph is delightful, because this says that this determination that bars can open has not been made official by City Hall. However, it's derived from the manifestation that several bar workers made in the city a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so I figured, okay, so this is very credible, and let's wait and see what else shows up in my inbox. And then I get this other one from Contralinea, another local source, also dated yesterday, that says the same thing. Bars and movie theaters reopen in Puerto Vallarta starting yesterday. Of course, I just went into the Cinepolis website to look for what are the movies that are playing tonight, because of course I'm just dying to go into the movie theater. And of course, Cinepolis doesn't have any movies announced. However, this very credible article from Contralinea said yesterday that bars and movie theaters were opening starting yesterday. Um, then there's this paragraph in the middle of it that says that it was surprising to them that the announcement was made about the movie theaters, because this announcement was made by the government of Jalisco, but the government of Jalisco did not disseminate the news. So I don't know exactly what to make of this one. So then the next one is also dated yesterday from another local source, Vallarta Opina. And Vallarta Opina says bars and nightclubs will not be able to open. Also dated yesterday. This one goes on and elaborates and says that bars have been opening and have been having secret parties. And the article mentions that, where is it? Um, no, that was basically it. The headline says, that bars, that in practice, bars are opening having secret parties. But of course, the article does not specify anything in particular. Don't worry, Danaher, for arriving late. You can always watch the rerun and catch the beginning. We're almost at the beginning, so I'm glad that you're here. But anyhow, back to these very credible headlines. This one, dated yesterday, bars cannot open. And then this one, dated yesterday from Noticias PV, says that movie theaters and casinos can now open, according to the state government, but it will be when the inspection activities are taking place in the proper manner and the protocols of sanitary action are in order, in coordination with municipal authorities. So what that means is that, remember a couple of weeks ago or last week when we were talking about those tables of risk, the risk factor table, and we explained it and everything? Well, according to this article, movie theaters and casinos can open, but somebody needs to come to your establishment and inspect it. So it is expected that City Hall officials are going to be visiting movie theaters and casinos. Oh, yes, Renee, I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started. Of course, it's very confusing. So, this is why today's news are more of a commentary than anything else. And it's a little bit of, welcome to Paco's world when it comes time to deciphering all this shit. Anyhow, the next one comes from, this is from Vallarta Independiente, that says that movie theaters have reopened or can reopen in Guadalajara's metropolitan area. But then it says down here, there is no information about the rest of the municipalities outside of the metropolitan area. And this is a Puerto Vallarta source. So by this point yesterday afternoon, I was like, I need a fucking cocktail. And I got one. I did, because I figured that will be less harmful than banging my head against the wall. The same source, Vallarta Independiente, reports this morning that cines and the movie theaters and casinos can be reviewed to open immediately. And then in the article, it says that they will be able to open on August 10. Would you like another cocktail? And then, of course, our friends at Out and About yesterday decided to go ahead and publish this news, which, of course, is in English, and it's got to be very confusing for folks reading this stuff. That says the city allows Puerto Vallarta bars to expand capacity in hours, and no food consumption is mandatory anymore. And again, the article doesn't say much of anything more or less confusing than what we have just discussed. You'll get to read it in the show notes if you want. And yes, I tell you, Suzanne, I will confess I had quite a bit of wine last night, and I loved it. By the way, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Anyhow, This is all that I have for the bars and casinos and movie theaters. In short, um, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I certainly hope that if you feel like having a cocktail, you are going to your favorite restaurant or you're making them at home. And if you've been, just sitting around waiting with anticipation as to whether you can go to these places or not, I really wish I had a good answer for you today. But today, I just want to laugh and bang my head against the wall and put some Baileys in my coffee, which I don't have, but I certainly would if I had some Baileys in the house. Moving on to other colorful news, Governor Alfaro found out somehow that some hotels in Puerto Vallarta are exceeding their limit of guests, which, as we know, is supposed to be 25%. And Alfaro made a statement saying, um, oh, I will correct myself. According to this news item, and contrary to what was revealed before, it's not 25%, it is 30%. So, do we trust Vallarta Opina? Do we trust the government? I don't know who we can trust anymore. Anyhow, if you're staying at a Puerto Vallarta hotel, just know that you're going to be one of 30% of people, and if there are more than 30% occupancy in that hotel, the hotel is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And now we move on to this level 4 business. The United States government has released a level 4 warning, which, according to this article, is the most serious for all of Mexico, recommending that people should not travel. Is this stopping people from traveling? No. Should you travel? Well, we'll get to that in a second. But in the meantime, the government of the United States is saying you should not travel to Puerto Vallarta or any part of Mexico right now, and based on the situation that is happening in our country regarding the pandemic. Um, and then I will share this campaign with you. It comes from Acapulco. The poor Acapulco got a lot of flack yesterday because the nice folks at visitmexico.com, the PR company that handles the website, put together this campaign, this short video called Mom, I'm in Acapulco. And the video essentially says there are no rules in Acapulco. You can do whatever you want. And it shows people um, of a certain financial status or economic status. It was not well received. It was considered a classist. Is that a word in English? It was not good. I mean, the governor of Guerrero, the state where Acapulco is, tweeted something along the lines of, you guys are not helping. If you're not going to help, just don't put out this shit. The Secretary of Tourism nationwide also said we had nothing to do with that campaign. So I don't know exactly who came up with it and who authorized it. But somebody is going to be in some hot water. Before I look at your comments and questions, I'm going to close this section with a very real question that arrived in my inbox yesterday afternoon from Richard and Lance from Dallas, Texas, who just discovered the show. Hello, guys. And they're asking, they're going to be moving to Puerto Vallarta. Well, you can read it as I'm talking about this. And the part that just jumped at me is, do you think a trip in October would be okay? Ah. It is so funny, this whole business of going on vacation, because um, I have all kinds of answers for Richard and Lance, and I figured I would bring the answer to the show because, and this is not a complaint, I think it is a little bit selfish answering these questions on a one-to-one basis when the answer might help a number of people. So this is why, Richard and Lance, I chose to bring this topic to the show. I just finished recording a video interview with my dear friend Paul Christ at Hotel Mercurio. At my suggestion, I said to Paul, why don't we do a video interview when you answer what it's like to come to Puerto Vallarta and stay at your hotel today, and not paint it pretty or paint it ugly, just paint it like it is. And in the case of his hotel, and I can speak about his hotel, and I can speak, for example, about projects like my friend Logan's Villalola, where he is the manager, and it's a small boutique B&B. I know that hotels are taking every measure to make sure that your stay is safe first and foremost. So, to Richard and Lance, I would say, the destination is taking steps. The hotel where you're staying, if you're staying at a hotel, more than likely is taking steps for you to be safe if you wanted to arrive tomorrow. And you see, that's the thing. What the part that I thought was really funny about the question is, do I think a trip in October would be okay? I think a trip in October is going to be no different than a trip next week, or perhaps a trip in January. I mean, as far as the pandemic is concerned, hopefully the number of cases will have continued to decrease as it's predicted by the authorities. But for the most part, I see that we're going to be dealing with this unwanted guest, the pandemic virus, for a number of months and maybe even longer. So is it okay to come to Puerto Vallarta? As a general rule, yes, you're going to be here on vacation, and you're going to be here maybe recharging your batteries. But then yesterday, I took an Uber into town to go visit with some friends, and the Uber stopped at a traffic light in the intersection of Insurgentes and Basilio Vadillo. And out of the window in the Uber, I could see this group of 4 or 5 guys that were walking down the sidewalk, and there was a drugstore there, and they were laughing at the sign in the drugstore. As you know, here in Mexico, you don't need prescriptions from doctors to buy a number of drugs like Valium and Xanax and all these things. So I saw these guys, they approached, and I could tell they were gay because, they were being merry. It's like they approached the sign and they were like pointing at the sign and laughing and so forth and so on. And it was a group of 5, and none of them was wearing a face mask. So that's the thing about tourism right now. Of course, it's great to go to a different place and disconnect from your reality, but for better or for worse, this time reality is just as pretty or grim anywhere you go. So is it okay to do a trip in October? If in October you want to do a trip, Richard and Lance, and you're willing to find out and discover what the safety measures are in place in Puerto Vallarta at that moment, and you are willing to follow them so that you can protect yourselves and you can protect other people around you, by all means, come. But there's nothing more disappointing, disrespectful, insulting, and ignorant than a tourist, be it from Mexico or any other part of the world, that arrives here or any other place and just doesn't give a shit about the local guidelines. More specifically, Richard, and moving on to other reasons why you should or can or cannot travel in October, it also depends on what you're coming here to do. If you want to come here and enjoy a nice restaurant and enjoy the beach and enjoy your hotel or wherever you're staying, of course you can come anytime. If you're here because you want to enjoy live music performances and go to Encanto or Act 2 or go to any of the places that are for live entertainment, chances are there's going to be nothing going on. It never is in October to begin with, because that's when performers start arriving. So it's, when I read, do you think a trip in October would be okay? I maybe it's my imagination, but I almost think that I'm reading. Do you think the world is going to be a better place in October? I don't think it will. I don't think it's going to be that different. But again, the bottom line is, whenever you come, and I know that we're not addressing tourists here, but just in case there happen to be any straggler tourists that happen to come across coffee and headlines, you know, just come prepared to honor the destination and respect it and respect yourselves and respect the people that live here, because we're working our asses off to do our part. Well, most of us are, many of us are. We're working our butt off to make sure that the place becomes safer every day so that we can regain some sense of normalcy. And if it sounds like I'm ranting, I don't mean to rant. I really don't. But I will acknowledge that on days like today, going through the news where things are not conclusive, where some sources say one thing and other sources say something completely different, it is challenging. That doesn't mean that I don't like it. I enjoy myself very much having these conversations with you and reading your comments, but God knows some days it is just too tricky. And that's when I get done with my commentary. Thank you for indulging me. Let me take a quick look at your questions before we move on to a couple of leisurely things that I would love to share with you if you will indulge me. Uh, yes, gay off, cocktails help. Um, at a girl. um, Troy says the out and about article also says bars no longer are required to serve food. If I didn't specify that before, that's my failure. Indeed, all these notes that we've been reading say that bars can open as usual, as bars. They don't need to serve. They don't need to serve food. But again, I mean, it all depends on who you read. I had a private conversation with a couple of friends that are bar owners last night, and I don't want to get into details because none of what they told me can be confirmed or denied by any of these sources or anybody else. But somebody talked about the city doing test pilots with certain bars, and I was like, no, just I'd rather not hear it, because if it's not coming from a certified source or a source that I find credible, it's information that I don't need in my head, and I don't want to plague you with it. I just wish on a day like today I could reassure you with more clear and consistently accurate information. Um, Sounds like I'm going to get more cocktails today. I see a lot of comments. I don't think. Uh, oh, this is beautiful. I think the question is, how do you want to vacation? Guinevere, you nailed it, because I've thought about going away for a day or two. It's like a part of me wants to go hide in San Sebastián del Oeste or Maito or places near Puerto Vallarta, but I would go to these places to do exactly the same thing that I'm doing here, staying at home. I would go to these places to stay at a hotel. Maybe if I went to the mountains, I would feel comfortable just walking out in the woods and just being by myself. That would certainly be a difference. If I went to Maito or to some remote beach, again, I would have some liberty. But for the most part, traveling to other places right now just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But it has a lot to do with what it is that you want to do wherever it is that you are going. Um, Let me take a quick look. Thank you very much, Felix. This is exactly what we're talking about. Um, and and this is true, Paul. I don't know what to tell you. And it's funny because as far as the gay community is concerned, this pandemic has shown us more clearly than anything else that I've seen that there isn't such a thing as one gay community anymore. I mean, it's a bunch of different gay communities with different mindsets. I think the whole reaction to the pandemic has divided the gay community in very unexpected ways. Let me take more attention at your comments. Uh, Thank you for that, Mari. I mean, it's like I see people arriving and I see people visiting and I see people having a great time. I visit my friend Paul's hotel, Hotel Mercurio, quite frequently because he's my client. And at his hotel, I have conversations with some of the hotel guests. And for the most part, the hotel guests realize that, this is a different kind of trip for them, but they're having a great time because the hotel staff is making sure that they have a great time. But does that grant them any kind of additional liberties just because they're on vacation? Of course not. Of course not. Um, a mask collection. I love it, Paul. I love it. Yes. Now I have color coordinated masks for everywhere I go. Boom, 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 boom. Uh, this is ironic indeed, Michael, and I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes the authorities in the United States that come up with these kind of warnings remind me of the federal authorities in Mexico that seem to change their COVID stoplight randomly. Um, I can never understand any of that. But again, we just try to report the news as we see them. um, Very many comments coming from you, but no specific questions. So please let me move on very quickly. I can't believe time is flying this morning. I do have some leisurely comments that I would love to share with you, and of course, our weather. Let's take a look. 27 degrees feels like 33, and these are Celsius, just like yesterday. It's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my goodness. We are reporting 100% humidity. Is there such a thing as 105? I certainly hope not. Not a windy day. There is an 18% chance of rain for today. Hopefully, if it rains, it will rain, as we say in Spanish, a cántaros, which means by the bucket load. And we can expect a little bit of light rain this morning, according to Carrot Weather. And we can expect rain in the evening tomorrow and overnight. And Sunday, rain and humid throughout the day. So as long as we continue to have a little bit of rain, we should be fine. But today, again, is going to be um, a scorcher. And even the comment from Carrot Weather makes me laugh. Carrot Weather says today, the weather isn't getting more unpredictable because of climate change. It's because I took over. Well, it would seem as though Carrot Weather also took over the news because the news are not very predictable either. Definitely not today. Let me see. Boom, bam, 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 bam. I have a couple of interesting things to report. The first one will take some explaining because it has to do with a beloved, really awesome Mexican performer called Natalia Lafourcade. If you don't know Natalia Lafourcade's music, you must. I mean, she is one of the most talented lady singers that we have in Mexico. She sings pop music, she sings traditional Mexican music, she experiments with different types of musicians and so forth and so on. And she is tiny and she has this gorgeous voice. And she's going to be doing a series, she's participating in a series of free concerts that have been organized, I found out, by Mercado Libre, which is Mexico's equivalent to eBay. And what they're doing in these concerts, they're called elbow to elbow concerts, codo a codo. Codo is elbow. Codo also means that you're cheap, but we won't get into language specifics right now. Anyhow, these concerts are special concerts in which performers sing in an empty stage, obviously, and and you get to watch it on YouTube. But what they do is they sing to a specific individual that is a health professional. So this is a way for these concerts to reward doctors. Here we see Tito Fuentes, who's another great performer. He's singing to this doctor whose name is Francisco. Why? Because Francisco is a doctor. So what eBay has organized is all these concerts that are going to be coming up on the Mercado Libre YouTube page, in which they picked random health professionals from God knows where, and these famous musicians are going to sing to them. And looking at the Mercado Libre page, I can see that the where is the oh, the Natalia Lafourcade hasn't even been announced, or it's not available here. But I did read on this other article that I was showing you earlier that the Natalia Lafourcade concert is going to be. Oh darn! I saw a date. Um, Oh, here we go. It's going to be the 8th and the 15th of August. Needless to say, I will be giving you a reminder of this. And I see that at least one of you loves Natalia Lafourcade. In fact, I will find a couple of fun videos for you about Natalia Lafourcade so that you can enjoy them. I won't find them today, but I will find them in the next couple of days because she is another great performer, totally deserving of a love letter here at Coffee and Headlines. And last but not least, I don't like to go crazy with the lords and ladies of Mexico or the ones in the United States, but this one caught my attention because I thought in the United States the male equivalent of a Karen was a Ken, but here I'm not sure if they decided that his name is Kevin or now we're calling. No, yeah, Kevin, according to this article, is the male equivalent of Karen. Well, there's this really idiotic video of this covidiot that walks into a store and just peels up social distancing stickers and he starts yelling, "I'm here to liberate the people." The world is going crazy. We all need to bang our heads against the wall or have cocktails. I don't know what we need. But what I need is to take a look at your reactions before we wrap this up. What a crazy day. Every single day I try to put together news and stories that have some kind of connection among themselves. And today I found myself really at odds trying to make sense of the news. And here we are. Here we are, all 164 of us enjoying Coffee and Headlines live. Um, I see all kinds of comments from you. Uh, does food stop COVID? Not getting the difference between having food and not having food as it results in safety. Um, I get that, Steve, but again, it was decided, because bars are considered a place where you just congregate and drink alcohol, and alcohol leads to making decisions that sometimes are not the best decisions. That's why it was decided that for bars to open, they had to also serve food. And of course, historically, and I mean historically in the last few weeks, some bars just decided to go buy bags of potato chips and have them available, and that's what they considered food. And then the authorities went like, no, I don't think so. That's not good. In other words, it's been a very confusing road. And I feel very strongly for my friends that are bar owners. I have some very dear friends, and they're struggling. I mean, they've been out of work for months. Some of them are losing all their savings, and I really feel for that industry. But it's just a crazy time for all of this to happen. Mari wants cocktails for all. As long as you're paying for the bill, Mari, I am all in. Um, and I'm glad I answered all your questions, David. Again, I hope. Are you the David that we were talking about earlier? I'm not entirely sure. Anyhow, I hope that today was at least entertaining. I don't know that today was a really good day for news in any way, shape, or form. I also don't know why my face seems to fade in and out of color, which is very funny. It must be the new version of the software that I'm using. But look at me, I get tanner and lighter as I'm staring at myself. Very interesting. I'll have to look into that. Um, Crazy day here. And with that thought in mind, I am going to, as always, thank you for your company. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for making this project as vibrant as it is. Not a single day goes by without me feeling so incredibly grateful for being a part of this community that you are creating, and to be of service to a community that I love and respect. I always try to bring you information that is as accurate and as credible as possible. And in in days like today, um, I wish I could pay for the bar tab for everybody so we can go have cocktails together and look at this crazy world that we're living in. And with that said, I'm going to wish you an awesome Friday. I'm going to wish you, as always, to stay healthy, stay safe, stay kind, stay weird. Be weird, because how can one not feel weird and be weird with this weird world that we're living in? But most importantly, just stay in touch and be kind to yourselves and be kind to people that are around you. Have a great weekend, and I will see you again tomorrow, hopefully with clearer news than today. Have a great one.